and I cannot calm my mind by telling myself I shouldn't be thinking. So I can calm my mind by regulating the stress in my body, and then my mind will become calm and quiet naturally.
Welcome to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl, a podcast that illuminates the path to collective healing at the intersection of science and mysticism. This is the Point of Relation.
Today's guests are Thomas's senior students and meditation instructors, Susanne Ahlendorf and Martin Bruders. Susanne Ahlendorf is a non-medical practitioner for psychotherapy, a group leader for meditation and inner science practice, who accompanies people on their personal and spiritual development path. Martin Bruders is a qualified social worker, mediator, and coach. He loves to sit in meditation and contemplate the movements of life.
Welcome to Point of Relation. My name is Thomas Hübl, and I'm very happy to be sitting here today with Susanne Ahlendorf and Martin Bruders. Martin, Susanne, warm welcome here at the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you also from my side. We are really grateful to be here with you.
I'm too. And I think we are developing together like lovely programs around meditation. I think we all agreed a long time ago, we were already working for a long time together, that meditation is a central part of our lives. And I think meditation is a deep part of our core spiritual practice, but also something I think that is super beneficial for our healing process, our trauma healing, like many things, how our being in the world. And so I'm curious, we will unfold today a conversation about meditation. And so warm welcome. Maybe I hand it to you then.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. So actually, we want to start with a question about our devotion and our love for meditation. So I think the three of us sitting here have a very deep love for sitting, for silence, for the divine, and probably many people who are listening now also. So what is it truly what I love when I say I love to meditate? And related to this, what in meditation is the path to come closer to the divine?
I think ultimately meditation is intimacy. Like meditation is intimacy with life, with spirit, with the divine, with oneself, eventually also with the collective, with everybody. So deep meditation for me is like it's like residing in a deeper and deeper sanctuary, and that sanctuary is not separate. It's not a space to go in where one's separate. It's a space that is actually everything, that is super connected, or not even connected, it is all prevailing or ever present. And I think the love is like at the beginning, it seems like often, okay, we are doing meditation. We are something that we do every day. And it's true. I mean, I started when I was 19, it's almost 35 years later. And I did it for some time really intensively, and over 4 years. And it's, but that it's a realization of that meditation actually calls us. And the more we notice that, is that meditation came into our life, then we become more and more intimate with meditation. It's less doing, it becomes more an inherent part of how we live. This is how we live. And the meditation is not even just a practice, it actually becomes everything. It is in everything. And even when we have that practice still, but it feels like it became the presence of the moment. And this is, I think, a very powerful transformation that some people often imagine like as, it's with fireworks and it's all kinds of extraordinary experiences. And maybe they do happen from time to time, but that's not what the meditation is. Not about experiences. It's about that intimacy. And I think that's a very profound transformation of a meditation practitioner over time to notice that. so that we are being meditated.
Very lovely. So we are being meditated. I like that sentence very much. And it's like this over the time. So, and what we also experience a lot, of course, for my own practice, and also what I heard from people coming to our courses is again and again a question for orientation in meditation. So when we grew up, so we need orientation in our childhood for different areas in our life, for developmental parts in it. And I think it's the same also in a spiritual path. We are walking, it's not a fixed state, so this and that and that. So we are walking a path. And sometimes, of course, we start with meditation. I also know that for myself, I started with 21 and my spiritual path with yoga and also meditation. And then one day I noticed I need a teacher to ask my questions. And I feel drawn to a Sangha, to a community, to share my experiences with my peers. And so this could be really interesting to hear you, Thomas. So that question of over the time, so that question comes, am I really on the right path? So this could be one question. Or what can I do? I also heard that very often. What can I do to become faster in my meditation to something what I think I need to reach? So this question for orientation, maybe you can say a bit about important aspects or principles you want to give to people.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. So I agree. I think same as in our development and basically in many things we learn in life, like orientation is important. And I think learning from people that practice something very deeply that we want to learn, and that applies to many fields. Even if you want to learn surgery and you study, you have knowledge, but then you learn also from people that are very senior in the art of doing that. And that helps you to train and to learn yourself and to kind of internalize that. And a bit it's the same in meditation. And I think there are different states. I think one thing is important that sometimes is being missed, that I think meditation needs to be trauma informed. Which means that many people struggle. When we say we struggle meditating, we're actually not struggling with meditation, because meditation is. There is no struggle with meditation, but there is struggling when we sit down and we pay more attention to our inner world, that suddenly we feel how much stress we have inside or how much unprocessed stuff we have inside. Or when Martin, when you asked before, how do we come closer to God? Yeah, we need what is that is seems to be in between us and God. What is like coming closer means I'm distant. And so what is actually that distance? And that distance, some traditions will call karma and some traditions will call trauma, but it's unprocessed stuff that creates distance and creates layers of identification of a self that feels more contracted and feels like, oh, I need to get somewhere. But that going somewhere, and then the question sometimes is, how can I get there faster? But in that gap is already the whole thing we want to look at. And if I have a guidance, then mentors or teachers can help us to see the illusion in that question or in these questions, and can help us to deepen the practice and to deconstruct a bit this the way how we project like our karma or trauma into our spiritual life, and learn to integrate this more, and also struggle less with sitting with our bodies. regulating the stress in our bodies, calming down our minds, because these are basic things that I think every meditation practitioner needs to learn and also practice and train. And I cannot calm my mind by telling myself I shouldn't be thinking. So I can calm my mind by regulating the stress in my body, and then my mind will become calm and quiet naturally. And traditions, like you said, yoga or Tai Chi or other more ancient traditions know this and have practices developed. And so a lot of meditation practices go through our body. We learn to regulate our body in new ways that calms us down. And when the mind becomes more spacious, we can have access, or when the body becomes more spacious, we can have access to deeper states. And those deeper states, again, feed something back into our life, and also change more and more the way we are doing things. We are reactive in life. We feel separate in life. We feel more interdependent. We feel more connected to everything, from spirit to other people, to the planet, to ourselves. And I think there is a progression to this. And then, of course, there are different states that can be accessed with different meditation practices. So it's like, this is a bit of like a science. Meditation is not just one thing. Meditation activates different parts of our being in different ways. And for this, we also need guidance. And some of the meditations are more publicly known, and some of the meditation practices are not publicly known, and it has a reason. Because they shouldn't be practiced by everybody. They should be practiced by people that are ready for it, because they can potentially open up very strong aspects of ourselves and life that, when they are being opened too early, it will overwhelm our system and have side effects, to say the least. And so that's why I think that guidance that you're speaking about is very important. But it's also, it's literally about my sitting practice. And I think sitting practice needs to be regular. Regular doesn't mean once a year, every year, but regular means more often, best every day. And even if I sit just 20 minutes, but I do that as often as possible, it's better than to sit 1 hour and then 6 days I don't. So the regularity trains our nervous systems, our bodies, and then bringing meditation into the way I relate to people. I do things, even small things, mundane actions in life, and they can become my meditation practice too. And so it grows more and more. And I think one other sign of meditation is, like how meditation benefits us, is that we become more open, fluid, and porous, I would say. That is, not everything needs to be premeditated. But sometimes we see, and I think many people who work with clients, for example, or facilitate groups know this, that in some moments you suddenly say things that I say, oh, wow, where did that come from? But it kind of fits the moment. So there's a way to become more open, that insights, new understanding, but also in conversation, that we touch the moment more. I think these are very good signs of a progression, that I am not a separate box, but that actually I'm more and more embedded in the interdependent data flow of life. And I think that's really lovely. That decreases separation, and we get a feeling we are more and more connected to life and as life. And I think that's a powerful transformation of a practitioner.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you, Thomas. So that's also connected to the intimacy, what you said, the last thing you mentioned. So the creativity to feel interdependent, to feel interconnected, and be more in that flow of life, and also in our relational spaces. Mm-hmm. So that's again the intimacy. I just want to mention that, to feel close, and also have the ability to feel that and to live a life like this.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And of course, then from this, like from that practice, there are deeper states. And in some of the deeper states, what we call the transition from spacious awareness, when I sit and I'm quiet and I feel spacious, I feel expanded, I feel calm, to like the next deeper state is what we call in our practices, magnetic presence. And there is like when many things slowly go to rest, that we usually identify ourselves with, oh, these are my thoughts, these are my emotions, this is how I see the world. But eventually in deep meditation, many of these aspects go to rest. But then there is still presence, but presence without a lot of identity structures that usually make up our life. And I think this deepening that we see, wow, when my mind goes to rest, my body goes to rest, my emotions, all the things that I usually am busy with go to rest, there's still something here. There's a here-ness, something is present. And I think that's amazing because that gives us also then in life. So the more we transcend some of those structures that we usually identified with, it gives us much more space also in life. It doesn't mean that they disappear, but they are being enveloped or embraced by a more profound presence. So meditation eventually does subject-object transcend our regular viewpoints, and that allows us to even host bigger perspectives or more of the world without being completely identified with it. And I think that gives much more inner freedom and is also an important part of the meditation practice. So I think there are different stages, and as we mature, these are then also very beneficial for how we experience life, how identified we are with our reactivity, with our thought patterns, so there's more space, and it allows for more wisdom to be present.
Yeah, exactly what you are saying now, that there is the possibility of a bigger perspective. I want to relate on because I think many people would agree that there are a lot of political and social events today that we will call a crisis or something, so much human suffering and so on. So what is, maybe we can underline what you said already, the answer of meditation to this? So why should I go to meditate, maybe especially in times like these or like this?
That's a very good question, because I think that's very relevant for today. It's like there are two ways to look at this. One is when spiritual practice, or in our conversation now, specifically meditation, is a bypass. I don't want to be in this world. This really scares me. This overwhelms me. This is too much for me. And my flight impulse is out. So then for some people, their meditation practice supports this out. And this is what we want to be aware of, because that's like trying to meditate in a burning house. The house is burning and we are meditating in it, and we're not taking care of the burning. So that eventually might end up not so well. And so that's one way. But there's another way where we say, my intention is to be here. I'm not waiting for a better world, because there's nothing to wait for. This is the world that we co-create now. And the fact that we don't know how we co-create it, because we all have this idea, we will create a beautiful world together, but that's not true. We are creating exactly this world together that seems to be in a crisis. So maybe for us, better to find out how we create this crisis. And in that sense, when I want in, which means I really want to be in this life and a participant, because why? Because God or life gave me this life and I'm living now. This is the time. So this is what we've got. And I think it needs more and more people that are present, mature, engaged, feel agency, and feel we can do something about this world right now, and co-create a world that is more and more fair or better for many people to live in. And I think if meditation supports us to create the world that we want to live in, then we begin to develop an ecosystem around us. And if I do this, if you do this, if you do this, and if millions of people create a world that is more honest, more ethically aligned, more just, more fair, more equal, where people feel it doesn't matter what's my cultural background or my race or my social engagement, we can create this world in small ways and in big ways, not just big projects. It's like whatever everybody can contribute is supported by the presence that meditation gives us. And then meditation is a way to be here, not to go out. It's a way to go in. And I think in that version of meditation, which is deeply embodied, it's rooted, it's grounded in the planet as the planet, and it brings light or divinity or sacredness into this world. I think that's the spirituality that I find very attractive. And I think is a spirituality that has social impact. And then it supports, of course, then it's not the bypass, then it's actually part of the remedy. And I think that's very potent.
Yeah, in my feeling, you're describing what I experienced during my 15 years with you. I started with the meditation to go away from the world. But then I think around 5 years ago, there was a turning point. So after a week or two in silence, I felt more in the world. So it really changed something fundamental in my way to meditate. Even if I do the same thing, it's completely inwardly, it's completely different now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Exactly. Beautiful.
I just want to underline what you said about the community or the meditating together in a group. I have the feeling that just also in let's say the last 2 years, for me, it's more like that we feel that more meditating together. So we feel that more, that's more obvious that this is important to do that. So this has really an impact to the world. It's good that we do that. And it's also needed that we do that. I just want to underline that. So I feel that more and more in the groups, this feeling of groundedness, and it's so important that we are here together, just meditating.
Yeah, and you're saying something important. You're saying like that meditating together in the community and the Sangha and groups coming together, this has an amazing power. Like our nervous systems are much more fine, and they form like a cloud, like a computer cloud. And so there's a lot of data present in the space when we meditate, and we affect each other when we meditate. So deeper states, if more people drop into deeper states, of course, that affects other people and allows them to drop into deeper states as well. And so as we progress as community, it unfolds actually a very strong power. And we all know how when we sit with people that already have more experience, how deep this can go and how fast it can go deep. And I think community practice in society, communities are essential. I think communities are a very important part because that's like an ecosystem that supports that quality in me, and I support with my meditation, your meditation, and you support hers. And so like this, we are all supportive. It's generous to meditate in communities. So I think that's, you mentioned, I just want to underline what you just said is very important.
And can we bring this point a little bit further, because so group and community is one level, but for sure there's also something like a world wide web of meditation, so to say. So even today, at this very moment, million people on the planet will meditate or do their practice. And also, what I want to bring in is through the centuries. So it's not just us and me sitting, but it's what actually accumulates when we meditate or see the bigger picture of this sitting together.
Yeah, that's an important point. I think just how you started also. Right now, as we have this conversation, millions of people in the world, however many, are meditating. And it might at first look like, okay, what does this have to do with me or with us here? We're talking here, why is that important? And yes, in a worldview that is based on separation, and that everybody is a separate kind of box, and their interior is separate from other people's interior. Yeah, maybe that in this kind of mechanistic worldview, that might make sense. But I think we transcended it already. We showed in many ways that that's actually not fully how things are. We are not this kind of mechanistic particles. And the world is much more complex than that. And then we can say, wow, actually, we don't know how the world would look like without millions of people meditating now, and how that affects the capacity of millions of other people that are not meditating to be less reactive, to be more connected to themselves, to be more creative, more innovative, grounded, compassionate, loving, have insights. Are your insights, or are insights, and they appear in different interiors at certain times because the collective space enables it? Is innovation, when you have a great idea, is this your idea? Or is it because somebody meditated somewhere in the Himalayas, brought some energy in, and in someone in Australia drives the car to work and has suddenly an idea about the startup? So we say, no, this was my idea. Yeah, in this separation idea, that might be true, but maybe we are all much more interconnected. And the fact that there is this openness, this spaciousness, this fluidity, that's not just for the meditation practitioner, but that's actually a service for the whole. And if we see it like that, then we can say maybe the fact that over hundreds or thousands of years, people meditated also prevented a lot of stuff that would have happened without it, because the world would be much denser and way less innovative and way less creative. And so I think you're bringing something very important, and we don't need to believe now what I say. This is what I say, but we can open ourselves to see, okay, how does it actually feel that many people are meditating now? Like, experiment with it. Let's tune in with it. Let's sit with it. Let's let that be part of my exploration. And I think there's the spiritual practice around the world that opens us up and allows us to be more spacious, affects billions of people. It's not separate from all of us. And I think the layer of practitioners that are practicing now, they are not practicing just for themselves. They are practicing for all of us. And we are also, when we meditate, we are practicing for all of us, because we are kind of, it's like when you tend a fire at the campfire, and you put at the right time wood in the fire so it keeps burning. I think that's what many practitioners do.
Yeah, and the effect you are inviting us now to feel into, millions of people are meditating. This is also, in my experience, something that came more and more after meditation, years of meditation, so that I really can connect to this resource. So at the beginning, I didn't feel it. So you said it already, but okay, there's no field for me. but now I can really connect to it, and it's a big support.
Exactly. And we can plug into this as a resource because it's not personal. Nobody owns that. Nobody owns meditation. Meditation meditates us anyway. It's not a personal copyright. And so it's like that there is this field, as you say, as a resource. When I'm more dysregulated, that actually is a resource. Same as when I connect to what we call the mandala of, or the mala of support. When we say, okay, all the people that came into your life at different times that supported you. This might have been friends, maybe your parents, maybe teachers, later mentors throughout your life, therapists, whoever, like people that supported you throughout your journey, and you connect to them. That's an amazing resource. And when we connect to the people that really supported our journey, that saw us, it's a regulation resource. And what you just said about this field is also one. And if I open myself, then I can feel, yeah, wow, this is really accessible. This is a very democratic resource, accessible to everybody.
I just want to come back to the deeper states in meditation. So what I experience, and I'm sure a lot of other people also, this state of sitting in silence and peace, stillness. This is really a beautiful state to sit there. And of course, again and again, I just want to sit there because it's so beautiful. I don't want to give that up. But sometimes there is something or someone knocking on my door and don't let me sit there in stillness and peace. So it seems like it's the next state. You mentioned that also, it's a magnetic state. So there is something, so like a next state of or a threshold, let's say it like this. And then suddenly fear pops up. So like this fear, of course I can include that, and it wants to protect me from something. But I'm really interested in that fear. And I don't know exactly what is the question here, but maybe it's like, what is that? What comes after that threshold, or after it feels like a state, or something needs to die. Something needs to die, or it's like dying into something, and that brings fear up, first of all. And maybe you can say a bit more to that. What comes after death? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, that's an amazing question. So I think it has more layers. Let's say if meditation and contemplative practice is designed to become more aware. So we're becoming more aware of something. There's not just more aware, there's more aware of whatever we are more aware of, process, life. So you can see this like you're sitting in a room and there's a balloon. And at the beginning, the balloon is small and the room's big. But as long as more air you pump into the balloon, it grows. And at a certain stage, the balloon hits the walls and there's pressure. And so some people have the experience, oh, I'm meditating, man, it's lovely, it's lovely, it's lovely. And then something happens that usually people misinterpret. They say, oh, now my meditation is not so good. Oh, my meditation is more disturbed. Or I lost it. I had it for 3 months. It was amazing. And now, and say, yeah, but if that happens, not that your meditation became worse, you become more aware of something that was in your unconscious or in your superconscious, and you weren't aware of it. And now more and more it shows up. And sometimes, of course, the history of humanity is full of stuff that is potentially very painful. So of course, when we meditate, it's not just rose smell and lovely and light and golden light. No, sometimes we meet the deepest pain of humanity, because that's also something we become aware of. So it's both. It can be amazingly beautiful and ecstatic, and it can be very painful, because pain is part of life. And if I become more aware of life, I will become more aware of the pain that I looked away from and maybe thousands of generations didn't want to feel. And so, first of all, I need to be prepared that I meet every time I hit the limit. It's actually good because it expands the space. It helps me to expand, but I need to include, as you say, when fear shows up, fear is not the problem. Fear is a sign that I become aware of more. I include it, I let it metabolize in the presence, and then I can expand more. So there are layers, and there are layers in our personality, there are ancestral layers, there are collective layers like this. So that's that. And every time something expands, more light can come through, because the channels that were stuck before are becoming more open. As the same when we do trauma work, our spiritual practice also benefits from it, because more energy can flow through us. So we are more in a flow state. And flow state means presence. And so healing and spiritual practice, they're very supportive of each other. If we do it right, then it's an amazing couple. And it's anyway the same. And then there is a point that you spoke about, because to a certain level of depth, I think with regulating our stress and so forth, we can sink. But there is a moment when what we call in our work surrender meets existence or existential fear. So allowing the sense of self to fully melt into presence, my survival might be triggered. So the survival fear or the fear of death. And so that's why for many people, when we deepen our practice, for many people, this sooner or later, this will come up. And this can be very strong fears, because it's the fear of not existing. If I merge or melt into wide open, spacious awareness, and everything that Thomas usually is in Thomas awareness is not there, then this might be scary, because everything I'm identified with goes to rest. And so this is a very important moment. And I think if we have the right guidance there, and we don't evade this process, but we also don't overwhelm ourselves, we can go through this with some support. That's literally amazing, because first of all, it helps us to digest some of the fear of death and dying, which I think is important for also sometimes when it's time in our life to die more consciously, and not to be in this during the death process, but before, so we can be much more present and wakeful in the process of dying. And I think it's also important for how we live, because that fear of death will determine many things in my life that I might not do because I'm afraid of it. And the more I integrate that, I will be more connected and aligned. And it's important because it also helps us to expand consciousness beyond the limitation of death. And I think some spiritual communities that have for a long time a deep spiritual practice, when they transcend death as a cultural space, that is very powerful. That means wakefulness is stronger than the wave of living and dying. And that's very powerful. I think real awakening goes through the barrier of death. And we see, wow, it's ever present. It's not just, and then we also see, first of all, we see, wow, for many people, their spiritual practice is designed by their death. Many people are first of all, are looking for an end. There must be an end to this journey. I will practice very hard, like when I train for a marathon, but eventually I want to get there and then be done with it, and the illusion of an end is death is still directing from the background the way I see life. My spiritual practice also will end like my life. So death dictates my practice. I will be all my life in a hurry to wake up because I need to get there before I die. That's another version how death orchestrates my psychology around my practice. And when I'm running to get there before I die, many things can become obstacles. Being a parent, having a job, people that we take care of, like whatever we do in life, you might be a potential hindrance because I'm running there and now I need to talk to you. So hopefully we will be done with this quickly so that I can continue running to my awakening. So you mentioned something very important. If like transcending death through a spiritual practice means I recognize that I'm walking forever, and that's why I have time for now. This is a fundamental insight that the source, the divine, is not anywhere else. We are not here with so many parts of us that are in all kinds of places, but there is nowhere to get to. But when I run away from my death, I will run all my life, and I will call it my practice, my search, my spiritual journey. But actually, I'm just running on top of the awakening, which means awakening is always a pearl in the future, not now. And that's not just intellectual. Even if I tell myself that intellectually, it doesn't help because it's just a thought. But that moment that you said, when we deepen and deepen, it shows us, wow, that's when love becomes possible. Real love, unconditional love, is only possible if I don't need to get after this hour with you to get back to the real business. If my awakening is there, you are my potential obstacle because I need to spend time here while I could get to my enlightenment. And so this, I walk forever. That's why I'm here. I can be here. Means I'm not running away from my death. I'm not looking for the end. And that's why love is possible.
Just need a couple of deep breaths to let that more in. Of course, I can understand that cognitively, and something in me can hear that more deeply and know what you mean. And this is also like I like that how you draw a map for us and everybody who is listening here to that path. It's timeless, so we learn and need to look through time and space, and that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I think exactly as you said, that we can live in the river of time. Our bodies are aging, life is changing. There is time, and at the same time, there's something that transcends time.
Yeah,
that is timeless, and I think that's very important. And especially the running that I see. Actually, I'm running away from my past. Even if I tell myself I run towards enlightenment, I run away from something, because arriving is awakening and enlightenment. But arriving is very hard, especially in a world that is cruel, where we tortured each other for thousands of years. Arriving to be really here is challenging. And to love to love being in this world and not projecting some kind of fictionary spiritual world somewhere else, but to bring peace into this world is very challenging. That's why thousands of years, we sages and saints and all kinds of wise people that were in this world already spoke about that the most fundamental state actually seems to be the most extraordinary state, where in fact that's the most fundamental state, is to be able to be here. But it sounds so simple, and it seems sometimes so difficult. So being here is I think, and that's also something else that meditation practitioners sometimes think, okay, the meditation will do it, but it's the meditation plus the way I live my life, and meditation or my practice also changes my life, that wisdom will become my path. And it's also not only how I sit, it's how I am moment to moment in life that is living wisdom. And so it's not just the sitting practice, it's also how we show up in and as the world makes a huge difference. And to love this world and to be willing to feel it also in the very difficult parts, that's polishing our soul. Because that's not so easy. Many people, when they practice, they want to go out into something that feels good. And if I'm traumatized and hurt and I need more resourcing, that's okay. But for a senior meditation practitioner, that's not the path. The path is to be more and more able to bring love in where love seems absent. In the more difficult places in this world, that's where we wake up to also what really impacts the world in these more difficult places. And often when you see the word in the Bible, the word says light. And it says, like creation, the word is creation. Often in spiritual communities, the word has no power in the world. The word has a power in the subtle energy, but the word doesn't have a power in the physical world because it's not fully embodied. But in order to fully embody the word, like to be in creation, like the world's being created in 6 days, is like to be conscious of that process means we need to be in creation. And in creation, we meet the demons of our collective history. And if I don't meet the demons, I will only be half a person and half a love, because I always will have conditions. And if I go the way deeper, it's challenging, but it's polishing our soul. And I find this very, very powerful and important.
Yeah, that's why we are here.
That's true.
Thomas, I want to ask you this question since many years. It's from a completely different angle, but now maybe it's the time. So normally you like the not exclusive, you like more of the connective and so on. But is there something you would say that possibly distinguish your teaching in meditation from others? So something like a unique selling point in your teachings of meditation? I think you named already some, but maybe you can.
Yeah, maybe we already spoke about some of the principles of our practice. And maybe one more thing I think that is, maybe it's coming more and more now also in other communities, is like to have an emphasis on a trauma-informed meditation practice, that not for everybody the same sitting is the right thing. That when we carry global stress in our nervous system, certain practices might not be good for us. and that we have a much more differentiated way of looking at meditation, titrating meditation, having different forms, movement and art and sitting and sound and whatever. There are multiple meditation practices that can help us to meet whatever somebody needs. If it's not an avoidance, it's not, no, sitting is not for me. No, maybe sitting is not for you right now. We don't know about later. And it's not that sitting is not your thing. It's maybe it's not good for you now. Okay. And then as this evolves, we will find out what if that becomes your thing or not. So not to make these definitive statements, but to have a more differentiated view that also includes our inner landscape, our developmental history, like how we experience the world. And I think if we meet that more precisely, then many people can find access to meditation. And also if we can differentiate between, okay, when somebody has what some people call meditation crisis, so that you say, I don't want to sit, I have resistance, I don't want that we have ways in a community to look at this and say, okay, when this shows up, it shows something. Something is coming into your awareness, but it's not fully clear what that is, but it shows up as every time I sit, I feel uncomfortable, I don't feel like this, I feel a resistance. Yeah, that's great. And maybe we have tools to look at this, and then it doesn't need to be an avoidance of the practice, but the practice actually brings something very precious to the surface that can be looked at with the tools of also trauma-informed process work. And they together ground the light deeper and deeper as the planet. And I think this embodied meditation practice that is aware of all the transpersonal states that are accessible or can be attained, and is taking care of the embodiment. I think that's definitely something that we put a lot of emphasis on, as also some other, traditions do.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Is there anything from the two of you that you want to add to what has been said? Is there anything that's very alive in you that you think we haven't mentioned or you haven't mentioned? Or does it feel complete?
It feels complete for me, and really just what I want to say, thank you so much. Thought it was so rich and informative, and just these maps of giving us orientation and also guiding through our practice. And that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, also from my side, thank you. It's always a refreshment of what I'm anyway love and sitting for. And so it's great. Thank you for this hour. Yeah,
and thank you, both of you, because I think you're now also more and more developing these courses and holding the space for many people that are very interested in meditation. And so thank you for this giving and your passion and your year-long practice. So thank you for walking together. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl. Stay connected and get updates about new episodes by visiting our website, pointofrelationpodcast.com, and by subscribing to the Thomas Hübl YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share about us with your community on social media. Thank you. We appreciate your support.